That is the celebration. And that's what I think you have to take with you, that it's not a sorrow, this is what she wants, and it's a peace for her. Her quality of life is not there for her to be a great-grandmother. She doesn't want to put herself through being taken care of, because she wants to go with dignity and she wants to go with thanks. You know, why does the government or someone else put that on us? It's not their lives, it's ours. Why is it a rule? You know, rules are there to be broken.
Hi everyone. Have you ever noticed that no one really talks about the way people leave our life? Suicide, assisted dying, euthanasia, these are all profound topics, but they're complex, so we sweep them under the rug. Well, today we're going to break that silence. Join me here on the mountain as I sit down with Caroline Wingdén, a beautiful spirit who's currently accompanying her mother, Kristina, through her final days. Next week, assisted dying or assisted suicide will liberate Kristina, finally, from the talons of chronic pain. This discussion touches at the heart of our humanity and challenges us to rediscover our values, our beliefs, and question even our own identities. It focuses us on how important it is to see ourselves as more than just statistics and numbers, like cattle to be legislated and regulated as we face the gravity of our final days. I'm Paul Conlon, and this is a conversation that matters. I feel like I've been on this journey with you a little bit for the last week or whatever it's been. You know, quite seriously, every morning I've woken up and thought to myself, this is one less day that Kristina will be around. You know, and I haven't even met her, and I can only imagine what your mornings and your days have been like. Is there any way you can share what that feels like? What does that feel like, you know?
I guess it's because it's so new, this concept, I think, of making that choice. I think that's the thing that makes it so unique, and it's I'm a very much a person who takes every day as it comes, so I don't really think so much ahead. And I'm here and now. So I take the situation and handle the situation at that particular moment. And these last couple of days, it's been a little bit more out of my comfort zone, because all of a sudden it's all starting to happen. And it's funny because, I say that in a strange way, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's how do you say that word? Surreal. Yeah, I think that's the best word to describe it. But I just think I'm so grateful and thankful that I can be a part of all of this, and that I've made the choice to be here and hold Mum's hand all the way.
I'm sure she feels the same as well. You know, you sent me a wonderful 4-page document just yesterday, and it was surreal to me to reuse your word, because it was very lucid, articulate, well written. But what struck me is, how can someone's life, you know, this is someone who was born, I think, 3 years before the Second World War, be summarized in 4 pages? Again, very articulately, and she's obviously has had such a vibrant life. You know, she liked gymnastics and swimming, and spent 2.5 years sailing from Sweden to Australia, and ran a business and had children and grandchildren. And somehow we're here now. You know, what's that backstory? How does such a vibrant lady end up at this crossroad?
I think it's coming back to the word again, choice. I think she's been around and done so much, and nursing has been a big part of her life, and she has been there and seen people right at the end. And I think because she has lived such a fantastic, adventurous life, I think that's what's given her the strength to decide for herself that this is what I want to do, because she's been a rock in many ways for me, because what my mum and dad always did their whole life is they talked about things and they did it. And it wasn't something that, you know, a lot of people just talk about, and, oh, I wish I did this, I wish I did that. They found a way, and in their own way, and never discussed it or cared about what anyone thought or what their thing was. It was never a question of, oh, what do you think? Because my mum, often, this is interesting, my mum would often, if someone would say, oh, you can't do that, she would find another way. It's like, yeah, well, I've got to prove to them that I can. You know, it's...
It's a valuable lesson right there for all of us, I think.
So. I think that's something that I take with me because, and I've been structured much the same all my life, is that if you have something in your heart and that's what you want to do, then find a way to do it.
Yeah.
And that's what I would just say to everyone. And that's what I try to coach with myself, with a lot of people is, why don't you do it? You know, what's stopping you?
And I think pain is the answer to that at the moment, isn't it? This is not a flippant decision. This is a human being that's suffering, and I think that's a critical part of this equation, isn't it? You know, I get goosebumps thinking about this situation and the parallels with my grandmother, as we've talked about before, even down to the name. Her name was Christine, and she was a very determined woman, very much like Kristina is. And I remember being with her when she was in palliative care, and she very articulately, clearly, and slowly said to me, it would be my choice to just say goodbye to you all now. Thank you for the time we've shared together, and check out. And she knew she didn't have that choice available to her, and she was at the whim of whatever would transpire. But she said to me, I hope that when this time arrives for you, you will have more options. And that really stuck with me. And so I'm very glad that for your family that is the case.
And it is an option that was very hard to come by, because you believe that that a lot of people have said to me, oh yeah, but you can do that in Holland, you can do that in all these different states, you know, Victoria or Tasmania has now gotten it, but you can't. You need to have guidelines. You need to have 2 doctors to say that this is, that they will sign on to say yes, and also it needs to be terminal within 6 to 12 months. And that is the assumption that people out there think, well, you can make the choice now, but you can't. Switzerland is the only place that, if you don't have that backing, is the only place that you can go to do this.
So we'll certainly get to that topic about, in my opinion, the audacity of the current system, people in suits who aren't experiencing pain, making decisions for people who are. But before we get to that, why are we as a society reluctant to talk about death? Is it because we're afraid? Is it because it's complex?
Yeah, I think it's coming back to the fear, again, like you said. And it's also, I think, because a lot of people, like I said before, wish that they did things in their life and they didn't. Maybe at the end they're thinking, you know, people are a lot money fixed, you know, that money consumes a lot of people, that they can't afford things, and they always have that as an excuse. And I think if you focus on that all the time, that will become a blockage for you, and the money will stop you. Whereas if you have the, you know, like my parents said, you know, let's sail, and people would say, oh, but you don't have the experience. And what experience do you need? You know, they sailed during the day and they did things, and what experience do you need? Then just go ahead and do it. And, you know,
that's how you get the experience.
Yeah, that's how you get the experience. And I mean, and even the affordability is, you can do things and the money will just come. If you sense it and you feel it, and in your heart and in your mind, that it will just happen. I mean, things happen because you, in the back of your head, are just so focused on that this is what I want, that it happens. And I've seen, my whole life I've seen it. It's happened to me. It's happening to people. But as soon as you put something in there to stop it, and you let that take over, that will be your focus.
That's powerful. Yeah. So that speaks to our identity in a little way. And I've been thinking, to what extent does facing death reveal our true identities? Is it only when we see the end that we truly understand who we are? And I wonder if assisted dying is the ultimate expression of self-sovereign identity and freedom, or is it just another decision like everything else?
Well, I think once you make, like with my mum, once you make the decision, it frees you, because then you know that there is an end, and then you will allow things to be better. Because with my mum, she had the accident 5 years ago, and things just started going downhill. And I think when the pain, like I was saying, if you're thinking of things all the time and the pain, the chronic pain takes over, it becomes a very much part of your life. And in the mornings you wake up and it's just pain. And that's what like I was saying, that's where your focus is. And I would talk to her every day. Every day we'd do messenger, because I live in Sweden and she lives here. And every day we would have some sort of a conversation. And sometimes it was good and sometimes it was really bad. And other times, she didn't want to talk. And I think she would say to me, "Oh, you're always so positive." And I was like, "Well, what are you going to wake up in the morning and it's raining? You either decide that you're going to have a crappy day and the rain is just, oh, there's no sun, or you wake up and you think, well, the rain's going to do, that the flowers are blooming, and that's part of, my decision." And I think that's where you've got to always keep even though it's not positive, the personal development and being positive, but the thoughts that are going through your mind, you decide in the morning how your day is going to be.
It's a choice from the moment you wake up, yeah.
It's that word again, choice.
Yeah, because what's wrong with the world is always there, but so too is what's right with the world. And I guess just hearing what you said there, it almost sounded like when pain enters the equation, you've already lost some of your identity, because the pain replaces that. And maybe on some of those calls you were speaking with the pain rather than with Kristina herself, so I can't think of how that could be more ingrained into who we are. It's a fundamental component of this decision, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also once you've decided, the turn that my mum made when she had decided that this is the way she wants to go, it flipped. It became a happy space all of a sudden.
Wow.
And the decision, and even now when we're doing the last few days, it's interesting, because all of a sudden she will flip from it being a really painful and coming to her heart, and then all of a sudden it will go into something really happy, and she'll start laughing, and all of a sudden everything's fine.
Yeah.
And it's such a roller coaster ride.
That's a perfect term. Yeah. So to what extent has doubt entered Kristina's mind in particular? Because we all have our opinions on it, but we're not living this. She is in real time. And have you seen doubt kind of play a part in that ecosystem of emotions, in that roller coaster?
I have, and the way that she handles it sometimes is possibly not the way that I would, but it's just reflecting it, I think, back to respecting her, that this is what she wants to do. She'll guard herself and push people away, and then yet she wants to have it close. So sometimes you don't really know, or do you want me here? Do you want me not here? Do you want me to hold your hand? Do you want me to go away? And I think it's just being aware and allowing her to be whatever she wants to be, and not me putting a judgment on it that you should be like this or you should be like that. Just letting her be and giving her a hug, I think. I think that's what, just saying, look, Mum, you're the best you can be, and you are the best person, and you don't have to, don't, just giving her a hug basically, and telling her that you love her, and that we do, and we love you just the way you are. And if you want to be there, be there.
That word love, it's the fundamental currency of human interactions, I think. And those words you mentioned before, you should, that ignites almost a rage in me, because it's a good segue into the topic we said we'd return to, and that is, I guess, the government. And by that I mean we are very accustomed to the government, and I say that's a very general term. We're talking about other people here at the end of the day, controlling our lives from the cradle, almost all aspects of it. And I just wonder if you could speak a little bit to the extent to which you think the government should be involved at all at this stage of people's lives, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there would have been many bureaucrats or officials knocking on your front door, offering those hugs or making the cups of tea or sharing memories. These are very abstract decisions made by people in suits, sitting behind mahogany desks far away, who don't even know Kristina. So has that plagued you? Is that just another level of bureaucracy like everything else we experience in life that needs to be dealt with, or is it somehow different at this chapter?
I don't know. I've never lived my life with government or rules, and I don't. Mum and Dad haven't either, and I don't let those things come into my space. But I hate it. I don't think that it should even be there. Government and religion and politics, I mean, it has to be there for structure, obviously, but it's just gone so far that I don't even let it in my energy space. I don't watch the news. I don't even let that come into. I mean, if something's happened in the world, someone will let me know.
Yes.
And that could be very naive, but that's how I want to live.
I think it's very mature.
Yeah. And that's how I've always seen it, and I don't like it. I don't like it, and because I don't like it, I don't want to go there. And it could be being naive, and it could be, but that's how I choose to be, and that's what's probably made me the person I am today.
Well, there's a lot to be said for that, and I totally resonate with that. Not focusing on the things that you don't like about life, but drawing your attention to the areas that you do. And I guess in a way, those who would support the use of state power, particularly in this sensitive time, it's very easy to fall into those words, rage, I mentioned before, hatred. But in a way, I see them as victims as well. And I wonder, what would you say to those people who would continue to insist on the use of state power, deploying government power to influence people in such a vulnerable time and make decisions about people's lives, and particularly the way it ends?
Well, it's coming back to that why don't we have the choice? Why? Why is it like this? And why do governments have to have that power to give to someone else when it's not their life? And I think that's what it all boils down to, is why does it have to be that way? And ask yourself, do you have the courage to stand up and be that person that you want to be, or are you molding yourself into a box and being like everyone else because you don't want to be different? Or not want is probably a good word there, but that you mold yourself into life and the 9 to 5. Going back to that, why do we have to live like that? Why is coming back to the why all the time? Why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we live that structure of schooling? Why is it that it has to be 12 years of our lives we have to go to school, and we have to do it this way? And if someone's out of the box at school, or that this is a completely different subject, but why is it that we're put into those boxes? And look at the people who've made it in this world. They haven't gone to school. They haven't gone through the structure. They've become the people they are because they have thought different.
Necessarily.
And I think that's where we need to look at ourselves and think, do we want to just be one of many, or do we want to be someone that stands up for something and be you and be authentic and I think that's where it comes down to with Mum. She's unique, she's authentic, and people, it's respect and just being herself. And I think that's what I take with me all the way. Just stand up for yourself, and this is me.
So powerful, yeah. And so you spoke to me earlier about how superficially people in general relate to each other. We have conversations, and then 30 seconds later, we don't remember the person's name. We don't remember anything about them. We don't go deep. And I wonder if that's why we're so easily pigeonholed in the way you described it. We abdicate all these decisions to some external body because we're accustomed to living superficially, perhaps. We chase money, as you've said before, and you know, when you spend decades living your life like that, it's just easy to say, well, someone else can make these decisions, and it provides the additional sense of virtue, I suppose, to say, well, I've done the right thing by, you know, being a part of a society where these decisions are centralized, and I can pat myself on the back for that. But I think ultimately people will fall victim to these policies that they support during their lives when they could actually have done something about it. So I think it's important to go deep into yourself, and correct me if I'm wrong, while there's still time, to realize that we will all come to this point that Kristina's at some stage, you know, and what will that mean for me?
And I think it comes down to too, I mean, they say that your first years in life, what do they say, from 1 to 7 years, that's where you form yourself. The building blocks that you get from parents, for people around you, the environment is what makes you. But then I've seen a lot of things as well with people become outside that box, but becoming so strong within yourself is I guess the number one thing is that you've got to find the love in yourself first before you can. I mean, what they say in planes, you know, that the oxygen mask, don't go around helping everyone else first. You've got to put that thing on first, because you've got to survive, and then you can help other people. What do? A lot of people help other people all the time, but they don't help themselves. And I think that's where we need to look at, where are we doing the building blocks from the beginning? You know, and sometimes you get the power from having something, a diversity or something happening to you when you're younger. We talk about that a lot. You know, sometimes my daughter says, oh, I think I needed to have a bit of a crappy life in the beginning to get me into that, you know, get me out of that, to give me the power to get out of procrastination, or, you know, to get me out of that, because I've had such a comfortable life that sometimes I need that stick. And it's interesting, but then you appreciate that as well, and to have the love and everything that you've had from your family. And I don't know, it's a hard thing, but I think it's giving that love and that support in the beginning and being there for your family, and being there is the most important thing.
And embracing difficulty, as you say, you know, and I think that's a strong narrative in our culture, or at least it used to be. And I mean, look at the superhero kind of movies, you know, Spider-Man, I think, was bitten by a spider, wasn't he, and developed these powers. And, you know, Batman lost his parents in a violent way, and, you know, really built some strength out of that. So, this I think this discussion in a way is a fringe discussion, and as we've kind of discussed, it all boils back to the home, to our childhoods, to having a really quality environment that sets us up to take sovereignty over these bigger decisions, you know, later in life. Otherwise, we're forever just dabbling around the edges with which policy setting, which lever shall we adjust. And I just think you're fighting for what you've already lost by that stage. What do you think about that?
Exactly. Well, I mean, it's coming down to it again, that it's finding that strength. It's finding the strength. With adversities, you get growth. And you need to have failures and things happening in life to give you that strength to move on. And if you don't have that, and everything's too comfortable, or it's like a relationship. If you don't have the arguments or the diversities, if you're too much alike, you don't move on. And I think you need to always find that spark to give you that balance to get you to move on. And I think communication is a big thing. And I think for some people it's frightening because they haven't communicated a lot in their life. And I think that is another thing, coming back to the death thing. They haven't said what they wanted because they're too scared to be themselves. I mean, look at a child when they do something. Oh, don't do that. That's dangerous, you know. Why not? Let them experience the danger so they can themselves. Being told something is, you know, don't go near that snake because it'll bite you. And why are you scared of snakes? Because my mum said, you know, that's dangerous or whatever. So you get these ideas, but you haven't experienced them yourself, and you listen to everyone else, and that's what is scary, because we listen to things around us, but we don't experience it ourselves. And I think that's what we need to do, is let go, let people, let children experience, and let them experience it themselves, rather than being told. And that's coming back to the government. Being told what to do and all the time being structured. Is that good?
That's powerful and profound. Yeah. It to me, that talks to how this externalization of how we experience the world is just so ingrained from our youth. You know, from I don't go near stakes because I've been told not to go near stakes. All the way. I mean, that then just transcends everything in life. I've had no ability to grow the muscle of experiencing a snake bite and internalizing that lesson. And then when I tell other people about it, I'm speaking from personal experience. I'm not just rabbiting someone else's opinion. And I hear a lot of rabbiting of other people's opinions around me in this time. And I think this speaks to the loss of sovereignty of our identities that we're suffering from. And that's why I'm so appreciative to have this discussion with someone who's obviously been instilled with these values, you know, from your parents at a young age. And from what I'm hearing, choice and living in the moment and just doing things the way I want to do it has defined Kristina's life from what I've heard. So this decision she's made now, I think, is just very characteristic of her entire life. It just seems to be a beautiful, fitting end, that she retains that control all the way to the end. I think it's almost poetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like the old song, Frank Sinatra's song, I Did It My Way. And boy, that speaks so...
It's a tearjerker, that one, isn't it?
It's terrible.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's, not terrible in that way, but it's just so how that just takes you in so many different places. It's, and it's your journey, it's your way, or your way or the highway, or whatever you say. But I mean, it's coming back to all the time, I think, also talk to, like, whatever you do in life, I think, is listen to people who've walked the walk and talk the talk. Don't get opinions and things from people who just says their opinion. I mean, if you're going to run a marathon, for example, do you go and you talk to a person who's run a marathon? Your neighbour who said, you're crazy, don't do that. I mean, you must be out of your mind. I mean, why get the strength from your neighbour or all the people around you? I mean, you need to get the environment that gives you the strength and talk. I mean, don't they say the 5 people that you associate with is what you become? Mm-hmm. So what are you doing? Are you being with the people who are pulling you down, or are you being with the people who are giving you strength? So that's another thing. Who are you associating with to be the person you want to be?
Yeah, and that's a key theme as well. Be discerning about where you get your information from. It's a perfect example. You know, you're not going to take marathon advice from the couch potato who drinks beer every day. Exactly. You know, and so that makes sense. I think that would make sense to a lot of people, but we don't seem to apply that more broadly. We do, I think, walk through life unfiltered. We just absorb information without the discernment required to rightly drop the junk on the floor. And that's why I think this is so powerful, because you're in the midst of this. You are feeling this with your mum. And so this is the voice we should be listening to, you know, not opinions that we read on the back of cereal boxes.
Or even listening to the news, for example. I mean, are you put into that environment of listening to the news every day? And why do they want it? It's as if we thrive with the negative. Like the news is the reason why oh my God, there's a fire there, or there's a war there. And then all of a sudden we're in our heads with war and fire, but that's so far away. And why are we absorbing that energy for us when we can't do anything about the war and
what you focus
Ukraine?
on
is
grows.
Yeah. And if we're instilled in that, which is coming back to the government, putting us into that box, putting us back into that every day, listening to the news, that's what makes us, what, isn't it? That's what makes us, isn't it? why are we doing that to ourselves? Why? Coming back to why are you doing that?
Well, there are lots of whys and lots of questions and lots of topics, but I guess to filter it down and maybe start to wind it up a little bit, what would be the one message from your journey that you'd like to share about how society could start thinking differently about assisted dying?
Wow. I think is finding the truth and the truth behind it all, because a lot of people that I've spoken to have just assumed, I guess that's a good word, isn't it? Assumed that this is what you can do, but you haven't really gone into the nitty-gritty and found out for yourself. You've listened to everyone around you thinking that they know, and then I will say that because we do that. We will listen to someone and you take that on board, that advice from a person who, are they authorized to give that advice? Or, why do we do that? And it's your choice. Do you go and find out the nitty-gritty of what is actually right, or do we listen to everyone around us and do that? So I guess I think it's coming back to, okay, I mean, it's like I said, well, my mum, obviously with the pain, she's tried to take her life 5 times. And I just said, look, we can't do it this way. And she said, oh, I feel like a coward because I can't do it myself. I've got to ask someone around. And she's not the sort of person who asks for help.
Yeah.
And I think that's coming to another subject as well. But she finding it hard to reach out and ask for help, it hasn't been one of her strongest things.
And I think credit she has.
And now with me just deciding that I'm coming here and I'm holding your hand all the way. And you don't have to do it my way, but have a little bit of respect that I want to be there with you. And I think that's what the ground that she's losing now is that she's accepting it now, that it's a bit scary and the confusion is coming in there, but yet I know with all the 5 times that she's tried this, she wants a way out. It's no quality of life she's having. The adventures and everything that she's had and everything that she's done with her life and given her the power and strength, she's not getting that. And she's 87 and she's just wanting to say thanks and bye. And I've had my time and I'm very thankful for that time. Even though she hasn't said it in so many words, I know that that's what she feels. And it is. And people are going, oh, well, are you giving her, I mean, does she have the choice? And you do. You have the choice right at the end. If you don't want to go through with it, it's her decision. It's her
that's the control, isn't
it? She has the control to press that little to say that, this is it. I'm going. And that's at the end, that's what you do. That you have it's like having an operation. You put it in there and then you have to have the control of deciding that I'm going. And we're there all the way, the whole family. I mean, even though my daughter's here and she'll be saying goodbye here, but we've been together. And then my son and my husband's going to be there at the end with us, and we'll be there all the way with her. So, yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing too, because I guess another unspoken side, the other side of the coin to suicide is how it burdens those who are left with a lifetime of guilt, remorse. Why didn't I know? What could I have done? So it's like fracturing a pane of glass and you have these sharp shards that never go away in people's lives. But what you've just described there about what Kristina's journey will look like at the end is completely the polar opposite to that. It's control, it's warmth, it's love, it's a celebration.
Exactly.
Why we're not focusing on this more as a society is a great shame.
Yeah.
It's something that I think is embarrassing, and hopefully this small chat will help to nudge that in the right direction. I think we can't change everything all at once, but we can start to maybe get people thinking about how discernment should play a bigger role in their life and choice in general, choice and freedom in general.
And it's interesting how you say that celebration of life, because I know one of the points that you mentioned to me is what is the biggest thing the memory that you have of your mum. And the biggest thing is that my mum was there for my first child. She held my hand there with Sophia, and I'm going to get emotional now.
Please do.
That is the celebration.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. It's and I'm going to become a grandmother in February, and Mum's all the way. I mean, she's not going to be there, but she's talking about being a great grandmother, and she'll always be there in the heart. And that's what I think you have to take with you, that it's not a sorrow, this is what she wants, and it's a peace for her, and it's a peace that this is what she wants, and she's not depriving anyone or taking anything away from anyone and saying, you know, I don't want to be there for when you experience this, but her quality of life is not there for her to be a great grandmother, and she can't be that with the pain and everything that she's going through, and she doesn't want to put herself through being taken care of, because she wants to go with dignity, and she wants to go with thanks, you know, this is it. I don't want to be there, someone wiping my bottom or someone feeding me, because
it's
that's
inhumane.
not what,
it's inhumane.
And that's why we should be given the choice of, you know, thanks, I want to go now, and allowing that dignity and allowing that for a person, I think, is why it's so I just can't believe that it's not a choice that we can make. Why again, coming back to why does the government or someone else put that on us when it's our life? It's not their lives, it's ours. And why is that choice then? Why is it a rule? You know, rules are there to be broken.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise we don't get anywhere in life.
We don't get anywhere, yeah. And it's funny you keep coming up with that term thanks, you know, because that, again, that's almost verbatim what my grandmother said. I would just like to say thanks and goodbye on my terms, you know. And speaking of thanks, I'd just like to extend my thanks and love to you and your family. It's remarkable that you're so open about this, and I know that your time with Kristina is short, and so I especially appreciate spending some of it with me, and hopefully we're planting a seed here. You know, people watching and listening will start thinking about this topic differently, and I think that's a really good investment of time. So
and I just want to say thank you, because it's been a journey that's just been, I think it's the beginning of something, and I think that's the mark that I'd like to say, I think, for my mum, who's always been out there and done things her way, that this is a beginning, I think. This is just the start of hopefully opening up a can of worms that will, you know, that will help people, because that's really what I want to get out there. I mean, I've done that with my social media as well. And so many people have reached out to me that and especially now the messages that I'm getting is just, it needs to be spoken of, and it needs to come out there, because people want to, but they don't know how to bring it up. And I think getting it out there and is what you need to do. To make a change, you've got to go against the grain to make it. You've got to break a rule to make a rule for it to happen. And I think that's what we're doing. So I just like to say thank you, Paul.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah,
what a legacy.
Yeah, definitely.
So how can people follow this journey? You mentioned social media.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. Well, that's why I should be on Instagram and goodness knows whatever else. But I have, from the word go, I've put it out there, and that's what I'd like to do, is just, and I will keep, I mean, there's a lot of things that I've filtered now and just near the end, just for the respect of Mum, not really wanting to go there. But I will put it out there, because she does want it in some ways, but it's coming so close to her now that I'm giving her that respect of not pushing that too far, because I did push it in the beginning, and it was like, oh, you mentioned it, and it's like bringing out a can of worms, and she's not used to that affection, I think, that she's getting from people, and I think that affection and those feelings I think it's good for her. It's her journey too. It's good for her to know that people do care, and that people, but it's not that people haven't been out there and giving her that support. It hasn't been that, because a lot of people said, "Oh, I should have rung, or I should have done this." You don't. It's no shoulds, like you were saying.
Yes.
It's her journey. It's her heart, and what she has accomplished in her whole life is where it all comes down to. And that's what I think I'd like to finish the whole thing with. It's what you believe in and what you go for is what you need to. It's what you need to make you grow and to make that decision, and coming back to that choice.
Beautiful. Well said. I think that's a fantastic place to wrap it up. Thank you again for your time, and I wish you all the love and success, if that's the right word, on the days coming forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.